Okay, today we are starting to write our newspaper reports about the discovery at Camp Green Lake. So most of you will be writing your first 2 paragraphs today, and then we'll edit and write the last paragraph tomorrow. Again, feel free to be creative. You can choose what Stanley discovers. You can choose what happens after. So in our writing, we need to make sure we're writing a newspaper report, which is a formal text. We need to use formal tone and language and our reporter's voice in that. We can include quotes and witnesses from experts. In those quotes, we can use informal language if we would like. We also need to include the skills that we've been working on. So it'd be great to see some passive voice, maybe some indirect speech. So that's when you don't quote exactly what someone has said, you just summarize what they said. So for example, the staff at the camp told us that the boys had been digging holes for over a month. You're not quoting exactly what they said, you're just summarizing. Conjunctions and adverbials of time, those will help you organize your writing so you can describe when something happened and maybe connect 2 clauses together. Modal verbs, and as always, a range of punctuation. So try to see if you can include colons, semicolons, brackets, and of course remember to look back to the plan that you wrote yesterday and use all of those ideas. So here's what the start of your news report might look like. This isn't the whole thing, this is just the beginning of mine. So yesterday afternoon, starting with an adverbial of time there, a fascinating and potentially life-changing discovery was made by an inmate at Camp Green Lake. So I started with some passive voice there. Stanley Yelnats, who had been at the camp for just under a month, uncovered a buried chest while digging in the desert. The lid of the oak chest is covered in gold leaf. The rest of the box is engraved with peculiar symbols. Inmates at the camp are made to dig holes every day as part of their punishment. Finds such as this remain incredibly rare. A member of staff informed us that they regularly unearth lizard nest and fossils. So that's some reported speech right there. I haven't quoted exactly what the staff member said, I've just summarised what they said. And now I'm going to include a quote. Stanley Yelnats said, "I was just digging my 4th hole when my shovel hit something hard. As soon as I saw the gold lid, I knew I'd found something special. I reckon it's worth thousands, if not millions." So within that quote, the whole of my news article so far has been in formal tone. Inside the quote, I can switch and I can be less formal. I can use some contractions such as I'd and it's that I wouldn't use in the rest of the article, and I can use colloquialisms like reckon, things that we wouldn't say in more formal writing. Stanley, who described himself as an honest child, told us that he immediately signalled his discovery to the staff at the camp. The box was immediately taken for safeguarding by the warden, who is in charge of the camp, so a little bit more passive voice there. Now, some of you might have noticed that throughout this, I've gone back and forth between past and present tense quite a few times, and that's not something that we often do in our writing. We usually, for example, if we're writing a story, we stick to past tense for all of it. If we're writing an information text, it's usually mostly in present tense. In a newspaper report, because I'm describing some things that happened previously and then some things that are still happening now, sometimes I can switch back and forth, and that's okay as long as I'm careful that anything that's happened in the past is written in past tense, anything that's still happening now is in present tense. So for example, even in my last sentence, the box was immediately taken for safekeeping by the warden, that's happened in the past, so that's in past tense. But then I've said who is in charge of the camp. The warden is still in charge of the camp, so that can be in present tense. So open up your task sheet and have a go at writing just the start of our newspaper report. Remember, we're finishing it off tomorrow, and try and tick off as many of those criteria as you possibly can.